Hey, this is a Fender 50s road-worn precision bass and sunburst, and it's got the all maple neck. I really like the way these road-worns look. Some are better than others. This seems to be a pretty nice example. So we can just sight down this neck and see that there's a good amount of relief in the neck, looking at both sides. So I can see there's enough that we're going to want to straighten this neck out right away. So we've just got the strings nice and loose and put a capo on the first fret. That keeps them from flopping all around. Turn this baby over. And you can see I've loosened all 4 screws, and that's just going to let this pop up like this. I don't even remove the screws usually. I just very carefully turn the bass or guitar over. There's our truss rod adjustment right there at the base of the neck. This had quite a bit of relief in it, so I'm going to give it, first you loosen about a quarter turn just to relieve some tension from the neck. Put it back to where it was. I'm going to give it a good full turn at least. There's 1 turn, maybe a tiny bit more. It's kind of a hassle because you won't know what the relief's like till you put the neck back on. Okay, so got the neck plate back on, tightened up, tune the strings up. Now sight down the neck again, and looks nice and straight and flat now, but might as well get an exact reading on the amount of relief we have in there. So I've got the capo back on at the first fret. Take the feeler gauges, fret here at the 14th, and then check with the feeler gauge at the 8th fret. 006, just about perfect. That's a great amount of relief in my book. So if you've got a nice amount of relief in the neck and you like where that's at, got to set the action and then see how it plays. And my arm's in the way, but I'm just going to basically hold this action gauge on each string as I set the action back here with the saddles, and they need to come down a good amount. These are kind of the vintage style saddles with the slotted screws in them. I like to end up with my bass action somewhere around 0.070. If it's much higher than that, this feels a little too high for me. This is a string radius gauge. You can see how I've snuck it under the strings and how it's conforming to the curve of the neck. And I've got several different sizes of these. And I knew this was a 7.25. I just wanted to show what you can do with these when you want to check the radius of a neck. And the reason I actually pulled this out was because I wanted to show that when I set the saddles, I like to try and set them in an arc that somewhat conforms to the radius of the neck. And you can see, I think people do this sometimes. They put their radius gauge underneath the strings here right in front of the saddles and just check that the strings have a nice little curve to them. And here's up close what the saddles look like when I brought them down. It's kind of hard to capture on camera here, but you can see that this is at a little bit of an angle, and these kind of go over at an angle too. And I put this gauge under here. You can see the strings kind of conform to that 7.25 radius gauge. The other thing you can do is get down and look at the strings across this way and just check that you see them following some kind of an arc. It's nice to have the A string be a little higher than that E string, be about the same as the D string, and then have your G string be a little lower over there, so you got that arc going. And I should have mentioned that after turning the truss rod and setting the action, after you do any kind of those adjustments, we got to tune back up just to see where we're at. So tuned up, just playing all over the neck, this thing sounds good. Not a bunch of buzzing, not fretting out. But the one thing I did notice was playing open strings. Everything sounds good except that A. That's not good. And what I notice is if I press down back here behind the nut, it goes away. So it's either the nut slot's not a little small for the string and it's not sitting in there nicely, or I think even more likely is we didn't get enough wraps around here to get enough. If you get enough wraps, it'll be farther down the post and you'll have more string angle going over the nut. And I can tell if I increase the string angle, that buzz goes away. So whenever you've got a problem like this, you're pretty sure it's starting at the nut, you want to just look at how the nut is cut there and see if it has a nice shape in that nut slot. And this one doesn't look too bad, actually. I checked the depth of the nut slot by doing this, by fretting on the 3rd fret with my finger and then lightly, let's do it this way, lightly tapping on the 1st fret. And I check how much space that string has between the 1st fret and the string, and it's got a good amount of clearance, not too much. You want just a little bit, so it's got the right amount of clearance there. It's got just a straight, almost no angle going to the tuning post, and I'm hoping if I get a bunch of wraps on a string and get it down lower, that might help. You can see I've put a new string on here, and I've got a couple wraps going way down at the bottom of the post, and what do you know, that does seem to fix that. I didn't string this bass originally, so it only had like 1 wrap on each post. I'll probably just replace all these strings and get a few more wraps on those. Okay, so got some new strings on here, got some more wraps around those posts on the tuners, and this thing's playing great. All over the neck. All we gotta do is set intonation. This is nice action on this bass, man. This is playing great. So tune it up open. Play at the 12th. Just a little sharp at the 12th, meaning we will tighten the screw, bring that bridge saddle back. That makes the string length a little longer. When you do that, it will measure flatter at the 12th fret. Play at the 12th. There we go. Now the D. It's also sharp. And I will do the rest of these strings, have it intonated, and this guy's set up.